Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Tap the screen, share live. You know how we do over here. We don't believe in growing alone. So grab your business bestie, your contractor's notebook, your favorite beverage. This morning, I'm going without my coffee. I'm drinking water. Let's see how it goes. If you're driving, just turn up the volume. I don't want you distracted. That's why you have a business bestie to take notes for you. You know, over here, we believe that we do business in teams. And it's true. You do business in teams. You don't do business alone. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition, another installment of Contracting Chatter. I am your host, Luciana Turner. I hope you had a restful evening. Welcome. We're jumping right into this thing this morning. Let's talk about, I'm going to ask a question of you. Are you committed to the commitment? It's a simple question. Good morning, Aaron. Are you committed to the commitment? And I ask this question because, something occurred yesterday that was rather interesting. And committing to the commitment simply means this. You took time to find out what the rules of engagement are. Government contracting has various rules and regulations, various requirements. You said yes to those requirements when you decided to become a government contractor, and you committed to the path. Now, I have a private Facebook group called Contractors Conversations. Some of you decided to jump into that group. In order to join the group, there's a series of questions you have to respond to. Simple. And out of the 6 people who attempted to join the group, 2 answered the question. Good morning, Keisha. And I felt that interesting. 6 tried to join, 2 answered the questions. And I started to go live yesterday, and I decided not to because it would have been a tirade. Because that is a common theme I see from people who call themselves wanting to be government contractors. You don't follow instructions. Follow directions. You do not get to dictate somebody else's requirements. And if you do it with something as silly as a Facebook group, where else are you doing it at? And I know somebody is hearing this saying, well, that's petty. And it may be. However, how you do some things is typically how you do all things. And if you won't answer, I believe I have 3 questions, then how are you responding to your RFPs? How are you handling your RFPs? Are you turning them in on time, or are you saying, I'll do it late because I want to do it late? If the government is asking you to describe your process for delivering your service, are you telling them about why you founded your business? It's something to think about. And I know somebody's still saying, but that's not the same thing. How you do some things is how you do most things. If you won't answer I know I only have 3, at most 4 questions, but I believe it's 3. 3 questions to get in the group. How are you responding to RFPs? So I beg the question, are you committed to the commitment? Are you committed to learning the rules of engagement for the person that you want to interact with and adhering to it? I mean, that's a valid question, I believe. In TikTok land, if you can tap the screen, share the live, it's a good question to ask because I see it time and time, not just even in my group. I see it repeatedly everywhere. People do not follow the rules and then they are surprised by the results they get. So we want to talk about rules of engagement in government contracting this morning. Some of the typical rules. I'm keeping it simple this morning because, quite frankly, I have a list of RFPs that I'm reading through, deciding which ones I'm going to respond to. And these are state level. I haven't even looked at the federal level RFPs yet. We are in low-hanging fruit season. Oh, we haven't even gotten into getting in the groups and won't interact. I know a woman, she just shut down her group because her group had 300 people in it and the same 15 of us was interacting. So she shut her group all the way down. She did public relations. And she hosted a challenge. And I mean, great challenge. I've seen her content behind paywalls. And she shut her group all the way down. And in the final video before she shut her group down, she talked about interacting in groups. I've even toyed with the idea of shutting all of my groups down. I shut down one group. I still have contractors conversation open. But I shut down my other group. But it's something, I have a saying before I get back on topic. People are addicted to others people's free labor as though there's like a sense of entitlement to it. And I think that's part of the problem as well. It's this entitlement where you feel as though the expert is obligated to share for free their expertise. And that's why you join groups and sit there for free. And without engagement, it's like I belong here and they're obligated to be there. And for those in the hallway listening, whenever you watch this recording, it's something to think about. Whether you're starting your own group, have a group, just participate in group. It's just thinking about the why. Just thinking about the why. I even look at, my mentor talks about his paid group. Dan, I'm in a paid group. When I first joined the group, we were paying $79 a month just to be in the group. And then he introduced a new version of the group. And it went up. Now, those of us who started in the beginning still kept the $79. Everybody else came in for $97. But I remember so many people, he started doing offshoots of the group. So many people started complaining because they wanted to be a part of the higher level coaching. but they either didn't want to pay for it, or they didn't, or they couldn't have paid for it, but they thought he should have given it for free. And I was thinking, what is this addiction to other people's labor and you don't want to pay for it? That's something you have to dig within yourself to find out why. But to get back on topic, some of the requirements in government contracting that you have to be committed to the commitment of. When the government asks you a question, they expect a direct answer. Period. Sometimes RFPs ask you, and this is rare, a yes or no. Yes, you can do something. No, you can't. Sometimes they ask you a yes or no question, but they want an explanation. Your explanation should address the yes and why your answer is yes. They do not want, once again, and I keep saying this is not a creative writing project. Now, this is a time for you to shine bright, but this is not a time for you to grow on the Great Odyssey. This is not the time for you to tell them about when you first took your great steps or that vision you had. No. If they're asking you, how are you going to provide this? Can you provide a service? And how are you going to provide it? This is the time for you to use descriptive language on how you're providing the service. Yes. This is not the time for you to use floral language to go into the history of the service and how you founded your company, because you really can't do the job. So you're trying to cover it up. No, that's not what we're doing. So are you committed to the commitment in learning how to respond? I'm just saying. There are times the government will ask for what they call key personnel. Key personnel are the people that will perform on the contract. These people cannot be swapped out unless the government gives this approval, which means the key personnel must already work with or already obligated themselves to work with your company. You can't do a bait and switch with key personnel. Everybody else, yes. Guess what? I always bid myself as key personnel. Always. I am key personnel on 95% of the projects I bid on. I don't have a large company. Now, once my company get to a certain size, guess who's not key personnel anymore? I'm going to hire somebody to be key personnel. But until my company get to that size, I'm key personnel. Guess who's not key personnel? Somebody I do not have within my wheelhouse, or somebody I do not have a commitment from. I cannot bid somebody who has not committed to me, my company, or this project. You cannot bait and switch the government with key personnel. Now, regular staff members, yes, government really doesn't care because they understand between the bid, the award, the ramp up period, things change. Key personnel, no. So are you committed to the commitment of understanding the rule of engagements? Follow directions. When you're asked for the budget, there are times they ask for a budget narrative. Woo! That budget narrative is killing people. So if you tell them that you have $1 million worth of labor, they want a narrative explaining why. Not necessarily. Key personnel is not necessarily top of the org chart. We're going to talk about that next week in Contracting and Business Week during VIP. Key personnel could be the bottom of the org chart. Key personnel doesn't even have to be a manager. It's whoever the government identifies must perform on that contract. And you identified that person in that position. Good morning, Fuller. You told the government that that person is in that position, and that position was identified by the government as a key position. Therefore, they're key personnel. Now, on your org chart, wherever they fall is wherever they fall. That's irrelevant. Sir, I can't say nothing to you because I actually didn't go to bed till 3 o'clock this morning, and I'm up on this live. So I can't say a word to you. Both of us need to go to sleep. And I didn't have my coffee. We both need to go to sleep. But so key personnel is not about position on the org chart. But I'll go into deeper detail about that during our VIP session. Understanding what you're bidding on. Bid on time. If the government says that the RFP has to be there by 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and you're on the East Coast, then you need to figure it out. If the government says it needs to be there by 1 o'clock Mountain Time and you're in Central, you get what I'm saying. You need to figure it out. You need to figure out how to get it there in a timely manner. And stop trying to beat the mail. Stop trying to get it there exactly on time because anything can happen. And it is rare that the government accepts late submissions. It is so rare the government accepts late submissions. Very rare. So once again, are you committed to the commitment? I had the government accept one of my late submissions, but it was the government's fault that it was late. I walked it in. I signed in. There was nobody there at the reception desk. So I waited. I took the elevator up to the room, but nobody answered the door. So I just waited in the lobby. So when the receptionist returned, she called up. Nobody answered the phone for her. So I waited. When they came downstairs, they tried not to accept it. The receptionist actually vouched for the fact that I was there and she called and they didn't answer. So they had to accept my submission because it was their failure to respond that made my submission late. But that's rare. That is so rare. And it turns out they was in the room. They just didn't answer the door. They was in the room having lunch, which is why they didn't answer the door. They just didn't know she wasn't at the receptionist table. And I wasn't about to leave it. And nobody signed for it. Nobody was there to receive it because somebody could have moved it and I wasn't giving it to anybody. So I just sat there until somebody came. If I hadn't sat there, it wouldn't have been received. But that is the rare except, that's rare. But look at the lengths I went to get that accepted. I was early. I sat there a full 30, 40 minutes before the due time. Now, I walked it in because I wrote to a state level proposal, and it was a proposal in my hometown, so I knew where the place was, so I drove it in. But yeah, when the government gives you a time, that's the time, because there has to be open on time. And a lot of times there are what they call public openings. So the government actually opens all of the received RFPs in a public setting. So one person opens it, one person's documents it was received, and another person writes it down. And it's all to maintain the integrity, sort of like how they document um, the ballots, which is why there's a time that it's due. You can turn things on at any time ahead, but it has to be turned in on time. And then they go through their whole review process. So, yeah. Are you committed to the commitment of being on time? So, to tie it back to how I started this live off, if you won't follow the rules of answering 3 simple questions to join a Facebook group, how are you following the rules to submit a timely, compliant proposal? Man, we ain't gonna get started on these envelopes. Sometimes they're so persnickety about the envelope. The envelope has to be your company name and the RFPs only. That's it. All that other stuff that you want to put on the envelope, nope. The RFP and your company name only. It has to say, if it called, I had one, check this out. It required 1 original and 10 copies, all separate envelopes. And each envelope, company name, RFP, and they had to be stamped original and copy. Period. I had one that I was responding to. It couldn't be bound or stapled or paper clipped. Matter of fact, that one I was sending to California. Couldn't be bound, paper clipped, stapled, none of that. It just had to be some just one jump drive. Now the danger of the drives, is this is where you don't have to spend some money. And I will tell people, get vanity drives. Excuse me. Get vanity drives. Spend the money to have your company name printed on them drives. And make sure them drives work. You go through all that hassle to put that proposal, and you send them an empty drive because you thought the proposal saved on the drive and it didn't. And don't test it on your machine. Test it on another machine. I actually did that. I had a proposal. They wanted a paper proposal and a drive. I thought the proposal was on the drive. I just so happened to say, here, look, double check everything. And she put the jump drive in the computer, and she said, there's nothing on here. You need to, that's why you have, your proposal process needs to be tight and right. It needs to be tight and right. That's why you don't sit up and write until the deadline. Allow yourself time for stuff to go wrong. Are you committed to the commitment? That's the first chapter in my book. Right. But 3 questions to get in a group is a challenge. 3 questions to get into a group is just somehow undoable. It's just the greatest sin. And guess what? I just let them sit there. I don't even send back saying, hey, you need to answer the questions. I just let it sit there. Because at this level of the game, you want to be awarded multiple millions of dollars in contracts, and you don't want to answer the questions. I'm not doing it. I'm working with those who understand the rules of engagement and say, I'm ready. They're willing to stand up and say, here am I. I'm ready to do the work. I'm not willing to do, I'm no. Um, there's something I wanted to share with you. We're in the fourth quarter of the government fiscal year, and you're starting to see a lot of, where is it? I missed it. I can't find it. You're starting to see a lot of compliance stuff come out. You're also seeing a lot of you're starting to see some mentor protege information come out. I don't want to name the wrong agency, which is why I was looking for it, and I can't find it. I should have bookmarked it. There's an agency that's hosting a mentor protege information session. If anybody is interested. I have too many email accounts. When I find it, I'll share it tomorrow. You know, people who don't follow directions are problem children. That's part of my vetting process. People who don't want to use my calendar, people who don't want to answer 3 questions to get into the group. That's part of the vetting process. Because if you don't want to do those simple things, you're not going to do anything else. And if you don't want to do those simple things, you're not going to do the things that it take to win government contracts. I'm speaking from experience. I've been a government contractor for 20 some years. And if you don't do the simple things, you're not going to do the big things. And that's tried and true. However, anybody else have any comments or anything that I shared with you this morning? So I'm gonna end this segment with this. Are you committed to the commitment? Or are we just going through the motions? This is the fourth quarter of the government year. This is the time to be on the ground and double your efforts. This is the famous low-hanging fruit season. What are you doing? Now, next week is contracting and business week. I'm sharing with you information to get your contracting business in high gear. If it is there, then you can take it up a notch higher. If it isn't there, you can get it there. If you're somebody who says, I want to do government contracting, but I don't know how to start, be there. Day 1, contracting plan. Day 2, excuse me. Day 2, we're talking about partnering government contracting. Day 3, I'm your compliance girl. We're talking about compliance. Day 4 and day 5, we're talking about low-hanging fruit. Day 4 is from the novice or the inexperienced contractor, and day 5 is from the perspective of the experienced contractor. Because depending upon where you are in government contracting is how you approach low-hanging fruit season. So join me for Contracting and Business Week next week. I am offering VIP. What is in VIP? 1, you get a booklet. I'm only doing that with our VIPers. 2, you get a 30-minute Q&A session after the general session. General session is free. Q&A only to VIP for 30 minutes. VIP gets invited to a masterclass that Saturday at 10 a.m. And VIP gets access to the recordings for 30 days after the week is over. So if you're interested in the VIP option, https://ltacg.as.me, you can sign up for VIP. I'm streaming it only on my YouTube channel, LT&A Consulting Group. Now, I suggest you sign up to be on my mailing list. Why? Because every day I send out nuggets. The highlights or the high points from that day's live. So even if you missed the recording, you missed the live, I'm still giving you something. You still get something. Not too many people do that. Not too many people with industry experience does that. But I'm still trying to serve my community. So if you join the email list, you receive that. So with that, I am closing out our segment today. Have an amazing day. Have a productive day. And remember, a stressed mind will never create. If you wish to join Contracting and Business Week, if you wish to sign up for my email list, I have my pin post everywhere on all of my social media. I will see you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am Luciana Turner, your host for Contracting Chatter. I will see you later.